Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
My name is Winifred Global, and I'd like to apologize for playing the program behind schedule for experiences some technical glitches. On this first segment of the program, as you would like to review our sister publication, National Economy, is a weekly business program on stable leadership newspaper. And this weekly newspaper's headline says, $168 billion remitted in 8 years. Diaspora Nigerians warn of decline in remittances in 2023. This is the headline story on this week's national economy. $168 billion remitted in 8 years. Diaspora Nigerians warn of decline in remittances in 2023 as global economic hardship lies further. On the strip of the paper down below, we have banks reform tech companies to survive fintech challenges. This is a story you have to find out as the story continues on page 10 of national economy. And above the basket of national economy, we have Nigeria secures $150 million battery manufacturing deal with Chinese investors. Nigeria's pharmaceutical imports surged to 81.81 billion naira in third quarter of 2023. These are the headline stories on this weekly national economy. We have editorial. The editorial this week is on reflecting on Nigeria's journey towards equality and justice. Reflecting on Nigeria's journey towards equality and justice. The most read for every Nigerian. Find out how the journey has been of Nigeria's attainment towards equality and justice. And from this show, we are moving ahead. We are getting a feel of what this week's national economy is saying. And of course, we are on page 7. Page 7 is on human resource. Human resource is on importance of ethics in the workplace. Importance of ethics in the workplace. That is the story of human resource page. Human resource page 7 of the paper. Of page 7, we move much ahead to page 10. Page 10 says, and of course also the headline story, we banks become tech companies to survive fintech challenges. This is something you have to talk about, and you have to find out more on, because the banks are talking fintech. How far, what are the issues, what are the challenges in the story you can't afford to read as a copy? Get the copies or log on to the website of the national economy. We banks become tech companies to survive fintech challenges. We need to find out. From that, we move over to the Nigerian economy page on page 12. Nigerian economy and is on page 12 on national economy. Charting calls for a corruption-free customs service in Nigeria. Charting calls for a corruption-free customs service in Nigeria. That's the story on Nigerian economy page 12 of national economy. And after that, we move over to the page 15 where we have Money Guide. Money Guide is on understanding the tax system. Understanding the tax system in full. Tax system must be run on the wheels of equity and fairness, with equity being horizontal and vertical. End quote. For more on this, understanding the tax system is a must read for every business and even every Nigerian. On that page, we move over to the technology page and is on page 17 of national economy. Building robust resilient broadband infrastructure in Nigeria. Building robust resilient broadband infrastructure in Nigeria. From that, we go over straight to page 19 where we have energy. Energy is on Nigeria's oil production sinks between unfair politics and weak output. Nigeria's oil production sinks between unfair politics and weak output. From that, we move to the feature page 21, and the feature is on the aviation sector shake up turbulence 2023 and fly higher in 2024. It's a story you have to find out more on. From that, we move over to the agribusiness. Agribusiness is on page 22 of national economy and is on 1.25 million MT 2023 dry season farming raises hope of food security. From that agribusiness page, we move over to the back page where we have the analyst. The analyst this week is on the long view, beyond headlines to the heart of Nigeria's future. The long view, beyond headlines to the heart of Nigeria's future. This is back page of the National Economy, this week's business paper. And with that, we've come to the end, the first segment of the show on Monday. Don't forget, the second segment of the show is where we're going to be talking energy with Inset and Gold. Don't wait, just stay tuned. My name is Funny. See you on the next segment of the show.
Thank you.
Well, the topic on today's energy sector is Nigerians groan as price of cooking gas skyrockets. Nigerians groan as price of cooking gas skyrockets. Nigeria is facing challenges presently as related to liquefied petroleum gas scarcity and high prices amidst concerns about energy transition and sustainable development. The price of LPG has surged, with a kilogram of cooking gas being sold for between 1,000 and 1,200 naira across the country. So we are going to be throwing lights. What can Nigerians do, hapless Nigerians do, especially considering these times of economic realities? Instead, I'm coming back to you. Nigeria has committed to the global energy transition drive, setting a target of 2060 to attain net zero carbon emission. That is a fallout of the COP28 event that took place in Dubai. And so, instead, I'm asking you, how does the scarcity of LPG affect the country's efforts to reduce its carbon footprint?
Thank you. Actually, Nigeria signed on to the agreement in COP26.
Okay.
Though globally the conversation around this is being forwarded, and we saw a lot of that play out at COP28, where many of the member countries and stakeholders took a look at what has been achieved so far, and then recommitting to primarily reducing greenhouse greenhouse emissions, and then working towards their efforts to meet the target. The global target, on the other hand, is 2050, while Nigeria specifically asking for a more softer plan, opted for 2060. So, however, we have seen on the domestic level the soaring gas prices, which is eroding most of the gain that the federal government has made concerning driving penetration of cooking gas. Before now, the situation in the country was such that the average home used firewood, kerosene, and charcoal, as the case may be. And when the former president Muhammadu Buhari came up with the decade of gas was signed, and then the government was aggressively driving the use of um,
Cooking
cooking
gas.
gas, which is a much cleaner energy for cooking. A lot more Nigerian homes actually took this up and they subscribed to it. But with the recent price hike, in fact, in my neighborhood, we are seeing a lot more people going back to sawdust. It's as bad as that. Going back to sawdust, where they had not even been using that so much before. They are going back to firewood, leading to deforestation, and they are going back to charcoal. They can't even afford kerosene. So kerosene would have even been a much though not still not as clean as gas, but it would have been a more favorable option, but they can't afford it. So you see a lot more people going way down the line to sawdust, to charcoal, to firewood, and thereby eroding most of the improvement, most of the
that we have made over time.
effort, the gains that have been made in raising cooking gas penetration in the country, and this is counterproductive for the government, I would say.
What factors do you think have contributed to the high cost of LPG now in Nigeria?
Of course, primarily, we would say Nigeria is not producing enough. Nigeria, interestingly, is more of a gas country than an oil country. Nigeria has over 209 trillion standard cubic feet of gas. The ninth in the world, the largest in Africa.
Wow, that is huge.
That is huge. In fact, Nigeria's gas reserve will last it for over 80 years, much more than crude.
Obviously, it will even outlive it.
Yes, of course. That is what it means. But however, the rate at which investments have been made towards producing gas that can be used locally has been rather slow, and this was before now attributed to the fact that to the non-signage of the PIB then into law. So the operating environment was not really so conducive for many of the investors who would have wanted to come in, and so that had derailed investment plans. And following the signing of the PIB into an act in 2021, Nigeria got caught in the midst of a global drive for energy transition, and so many of the countries who would have gladly invested in the production of gas, they were kind of reassessing their investment plans, and a lot of them were opting out of investing in fossil related fuels, rather moving to renewables. And so Nigeria got caught in that middle. And so while the country has decided that gas is a transition fuel, the investment in that sector is not as rapid as we would expect to be able to harness the vast potential of gas. And then coupled with the recent issues, challenges we've been having in the area of foreign exchange, we see that a lot of the input within that sector, they are all mostly imported, in fact virtually imported, and with the scarcity of dollars and then the high exchange rate, we have seen production further stalled, and that's coupled with internal issues of infrastructure, not being able to move the gas as swiftly to every region in the country as should be necessary. So all of these are factors that have contributed in bringing about this scarcity that we're experiencing, and that has affected the price negatively.
All right, thank you so much. Now, I want to find out what are the challenges hindering the mainstreaming of LPG as a substitute for traditional firewood in Nigeria?
Of course, like I've brought up, a lot of in fact, a lot of homes, they've come to discover that gas is much better Of course, with gas, the average woman doesn't have to wash as much as they do when they use firewood. Then the air is cleaner.
Yes,
The
cleaner.
environment is neater, and all that. There's less greenhouse emissions, and then the people using those means of energy to cook, it provides a cleaner and healthier substitute to all of that. So those are huge benefits that the average Nigerian woman would want to
And it's
bring into.
easy.
It's easy. You cook your food faster.
Yes,
Even in the industrial areas, it's better, and so everyone would want to go that way. However, we have seen a situation where Nigeria, coming from like the MBS said, Nigeria about 133 million Nigeria, still multidimensionally poor. And coming from that, we've seen a situation where the current reforms by the federal government has further pushed down household income, reduced it drastically. We saw the removal of fuel subsidy, which more or less a lot of families are struggling with at this time, because with the attendant increase in the prices of foodstuff and other household necessities in the market. And then, so at a time like this, where you're seeing all of those things coming together, the family facing these challenges all at the same time, and then you see the price of gas skyrocketing. So they are forced to choose what to focus on. Is it right now the price of gas has moved to as much as 1,200 naira a liter, and when you put that beside having to buy maybe like 5 liters of gas, which for the average household of, let's say, 6, they wouldn't use that for up to 2 weeks. Cooking on a regular basis. And so then they still have to buy food. The cost of food items have gone up drastically. So in view of that, they will have to look at their priorities. Should we buy food with this money and then use firewood to cook it, or use charcoal to cook it, or even sawdust, as many of them have resorted to? Or do we reduce the quantity of food that we are buying just so that we can maintain our standard of cooking with gas? So a lot of homes are faced with very dire conditions, hard choices to make. And most of the time you see that they tend to sacrifice the one which they feel that they can do without. Food is a necessity, you just have to eat. So they opt to buy the food and look for cheaper means of preparing them. And so you see a lot of the households going away from the luxury. They are now terming using gas a luxury, and they would rather go for other means.
But even at that, if I may chip in, firewood too is not so. It has become something of high, because somebody was telling me that he knows people that are using firewood, and they buy 5,000 naira for firewood that it barely lasts them more than a week.
Those must be for commercial purposes. And in which case, if they are also using gas, it will also
be more cheaper.
It will be much cheaper.
I want to find out from you, because we've been talking about this gas, that's liquefied petroleum gas. It has been scarce and of course high, skyrocketing since maybe 3 months back. Now, what is Nigerian government? How is it addressing this supply disruption and scarcity?
We have seen a lot of like the government has, even though we are not holding forward for the government, but the government has been trying to drive investment, because with the PIA having been signed, a lot of this investment have to come from the private sector. So what the government needs to do is to ensure that the enabling environment is there and the policies are consistent, so that the private sector will find it convenient for them to come in and invest. So in recent times, we have, especially as an outcome of this COP28, we have seen a number of gas deals being signed. Like yesterday, the NNPC announced the signing of two major deals, and these are related to gas. We have seen also, we have seen put together, we have seen a number of
deals. You want to share
signed.
more light on that deal, because we've had occasions whereby federal government goes into signing of MOUs with all these multinationals, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So perhaps you want to share more light on that. What will it entail for Nigeria?
Well, as it's the news of this deal came out late yesterday, and as we speak, the details are still sketchy. However, the deals are signed concerning building floating gas facilities, which will allow for better gas production, and then a deal was also signed on Ajaokuta steel, also in relation to gas production. So that is basically the information available at this time concerning those deals. But we would be bringing up updates concerning those deals as we get better information on it.
All right, thank you so much. I think at this point we are going on a break. When we come back, perhaps instead you are going to be shedding more light on the signage of Ajaokuta steel, the nexus between it and liquefied petroleum gas. Don't go away, we are coming back with more answers. Yes, what is the nexus between Ajaokuta? Sector of Money Radio. My name is Winifred Bebo, and of course I have with me, as usual on the program, an in-house analyst, Inse Anthony Upo. Inse, thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll be talking on Nigerians grown as price of cooking gas skyrockets. It's not easy all across the country. The price of a kilogram of gas, liquefied petroleum gas, has gone up to 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,200 naira. Of course, this is as regards to on the backdrop of how much it was sold 4-5 months ago. Just before we went on break, the COP28 fallout, the NNPC announced that it has signed 2 mega deals with 2 multinationals to see to the harnessment of our natural gas. Instead, so what are we going to look at the end of the day? We'll have a situation whereby our gas will have more for domestic use and for energy use sources.
Yeah, basically that's the intention of this deals that have been signed, because they are targeting the domestic market first, and then be able to have gas available for export. We've seen a situation where the NNPC has been at the forefront of pushing for the AKK pipeline. That's the Ajaokuta, first within the country, the Ajaokuta, the Kano and Kaduna gas pipeline, which will be able to transport gas from the Niger Delta region, where a lot of these activities take place, to the other parts of the country. So all of this, a lot of activities on this has been hinged on, adequate investment in that. So with this MOU, we are expecting that there will be more investment in this to be able to push this project to a logical conclusion, and of course the minister for of petroleum resources gas has also promised that the AKK project should be completed by next year, the first quarter of next year. So all of these are our expectation that with this, Nigeria will see a lot more of these vast natural resources that we have being produced, so that we can have a lot more of it available for domestic use, and then improve its revenue profile for the country.
But however, I'm at a loss for a commodity that we have in abundance, and of course, proud to this, we've been buying LPG at quite relative low price, and now is so out of range for average Nigerian. I'm wondering what happened. I mean, because it's not like fuel that you have to take it out for refining and bring it back. One can understand.
No, gas also needs to be produced for us to have.
But what happened to NNG, that is Nigerian liquefied natural gas?
Yeah, even okay. That's also another area. You know, the gas itself. The NLNG needs gas, natural gas, as a raw material to process and have this cooking gas.
Yes.
So where it is constrained by the producers are not producing enough gas to feed in all their stock. The NLNG has also cried out that it's not getting enough gas for it to utilize as raw material for its
but why is that so? For commodity that
it still boils down to the lack of adequate infrastructure. You know, before now, even though Nigeria is largely a gas country, a lot of the IOCs, the international oil companies, were focusing on oil. And you know, they were not putting in place the extra needed infrastructure to harness this gas. A lot of them were flaying the associated gas. That's the gas that comes along with the crude.
Yes.
So what they wanted, all what they wanted was the crude. So they would take the crude and flay the gas. Yes. And again, even though the penalties were stipulated for gas flaring, because Nigeria has been on the issue of commercializing the gas that is currently being flayed, but it needed more investment on the part of the operators to be able to harness this gas. And in the absence of those companies putting this down, and a lot of them, they found it easier to number one, flay the gas and pay the penalties, because the penalties they considered were not stringent enough. And most of the authorities, the Nigerian authorities who should collect those penalties, were not following up on them. So they were virtually still going away free. They were flaying, they were flaying the gas freely, and they were not paying penalties, even though the penalties were not stiff enough. So even if they were mandated to pay, they still considered it cheaper than having to put down the necessary infrastructure to capture this gas and for utilization. However, a good thing here is that the NLNG has said it's giving priority to domestic use of gas. So for now, it has said the bulk of the gas it produces will be for the domestic market. And so while that is on ground, it's just that while Nigerians get to have a bit more of the product to use, Nigeria as a country loses out on the foreign exchange potential that exporting gas should bring into the country. So it's still it's not really a situation to be desired for the country, really, especially with the scarcity of forests as we have it currently.
Wow, that is really a dire situation.
A dire one indeed.
Now, lastly, how can the Nigerian government ensure affordable energy access for its population amidst LPG scarcity and high prices? What is the way out? Like
I said before, the government needs to really put its foot on the ground I am the Minister of Petroleum Resources, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, had given a matching order to set up a committee and giving them a matching order to find a lasting solution to the issue of gas scarcity and be able to crash the prices. As we speak, we're expecting the outcome of that meeting because it had given them a week. I've been on it to ensure that, to find out what has happened. I'm yet to get feedback on that. So that will actually let us know the direction that the government wants to take. However, like I said earlier, what the government needs to do, the operators need to know that their investments are safe and that there's not going to be policy somersaults that will come up to change situations after investments have been done. Like we're having the case in the financial system now, where the CBN came up with the policy that is not continuing in developmental. Is not taking a developmental stance like its predecessor had done, and so all the development finance that had been done before, what happens? So it creates a lot of panic. The people who have committed funds, made investment, they are now in a panic. What happens to our investment? What happens to the fund? Many of these funds were gotten from loans, and so a lot of people are a bit they are kind of sitting down to see how will this government, how does it plan to go? It is when the government is able to give that assurance that there won't be policy somersaults, there's going to be investments, your investments are secured and all that, then we'll see a lot more players coming into this area that is much needed.
Thank you so much. I said it was the last question, but I can't help asking this. What happened to local investors? At the time we keep talking about local manufacturers, giving them priority. Then why are they not coming forth?
The cost implications for this infrastructure, they are huge. And they just need foreign partnership. But a lot of them, they've been drumming it that Nigeria has to rise up. In fact, Africans have to step in, because the foreign companies are now backing out. So many of them are backing out of investing. They are afraid of sanctions from the international community as a result of the global energy transition. So if Nigerians and indeed Africans don't stand up and take a decisive decision on building this infrastructure to harness this vast natural resources that is needed to develop the continent, then we would be the ones to lose at the end of the day when gas can no longer be freely utilized as it still can. So a lot of collaborations also need to be done privately within the private players to ensure that capacity is built, infrastructure is built, and then even if it is for internal consumption at the current moment, there is the energy deficiency in the country, in the continent is so huge that we Africans can buy the gas and develop the economy before it's finally phased out. So
are not looking into it.
You
talk about resources so huge for that. Could collaborate to
of course,
because just like what you mentioned,
but we are seeing a situation where Elumelu, they have come in the area of we have the airs energy now stepping up. So we need to see some
diversifying.
We need to see a lot more of such, so that they will come in and together build up that sector.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thank
so
you.
enlightening and educative as you spoke on the energy sector, the cooking gas, the high price of cooking gas presently as it is in the country. So I look forward to having you same time, same station on the program. Well, viewers, you've had the pleasure of having the group business editor of Leadership newspaper, Inse Anthony Upo, on the stage to talk energy. My name is Winifred Ukwebo. Until we come your way again, same time on the station. We remain blessed. See you then. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080 3688